Happy Year of the PSVR 2, everyone. I'm Eurogamer's Ian Higton, and I couldn't be more excited for the release of the PSVR 2 if I tried. So you better believe I've been keeping track of every game that's destined to be beamed into our eyeballs at some point in the future. What follows is a list of every confirmed PSVR 2 title so far, since January the 5th to be exact, and it includes upcoming releases, headset exclusives, and PSVR to PSVR 2 upgrades, whether they be free or not. And there are loads of them to get through, so let's get cracking.
Hey, come on! Don't get spooked now, newcomer. Let's dive into this adventure once again.
Any dig heads out there who enjoyed the first Cave Digger game will be happy to know that its sequel, Cave Digger 2 Dig Harder, will be hitting PSVR 2 at some point in the future. Unlike the first game, which was a very static solo experience, Cave Digger 2 gives you the freedom to wander around in up to 4-player co-op. So if you dig playing games with your friends, this one will definitely be for you.
Now, get to swinging that pickaxe, rookie.
OM Galaxies, you will not believe what's happening at Cosmonious High.
Cosmonious High is a wacky space adventure from the creators of the excellent Job Simulator games, in which you take on the role of a Prismy, a unique alien species that can adapt to any situation. It's silly, it's colourful, and it's a great game for easing the younger VR heads among us into the world of virtual reality.
Hank, it's time for class. Oh, gotta go. See you at Cosmonious High.
Let all monsters beware. My aim is true.
Ready those dice, friends, because the excellent but very challenging D&D board game come to life, Demeo, is heading to a PSVR 2 near you soon. We here at Eurogamer have had a lot of fun playing Demeo with the Dicebreaker crew in the past, so we can't wait for it to roll onto the PSVR 2.
It's a snap mob. We're not gonna make it.
Aloy, what do we have here then? Well, it's only one of the PSVR 2's most anticipated launch titles, Horizon Call of the Mountain. Designed to appeal to both VR newcomers and veterans alike, Call of the Mountain will deliver jaw-dropping examples of what the PSVR 2's new tech can offer, and these are bound to blow the minds of experienced PSVR 1 users. This showcase is wrapped up in a slightly more beginner-friendly VR experience though, especially when it comes to battling all those gorgeous dino robos, because, you know, Sony doesn't want all of its new PSVR adopters to spew on their shoes on their first ever go of the headset, now does it?
You have walked in the shadows, Reyes. Now it is time to climb into the light.
Real change takes real courage and real sacrifice.
Jurassic World Aftermath Collection is a reworked version of Coatsink's dino-centric survival adventure game that combines both parts of the original Oculus Quest games and gives them the PSVR 2 treatment. This means that improved 4K gameplay, headset rumble, and all the other trimmings will make your trip to Isla Nublar even more immersive than it was before.
That's it. The key. Get to that train and get it moving.
Fans of first-person sci-fi physics-based adventure games should keep Lonn VR on their radar, as it's due to come to PSVR 2 sometime after the headset releases. I've not had a chance to play this one on PC VR yet, but the blurb on Steam and the accompanying trailer seems to suggest a game in the vein of Boneworks and Bone Labs, so that means you can climb pretty much anything you want, hit enemies with pretty much anything you want, and approach problems in pretty much any way you want. So I pretty much want to play this one right now. Lo-Fi here is a cyberpunk fan's dream come true. It's an incredibly moody, super immersive, retro-futuristic detective game, and I cannot wait to explore every inch of its setting, City Block 303, once the full game releases. Unfortunately though, the game missed its 2022 release date for PC VR, and with no news on a PSVR 2 release date just yet, it might be a while before we can get our Blade Runner roleplay on.
When all the paths are overgrown and evening falls with crimson glow.
Moss is set in a stunningly realised storybook world that's brought to life by the kind of polish that can only be achieved when its creators have poured their hearts and souls into a project. Little Mouse Pal Quill's Adventure is by far and away one of the best looking titles available for the original PSVR, so it's a shame that its developers Polyarch won't be offering up a free PSVR to PSVR 2 upgrade, as I'm not sure many of us out there will want to buy it twice, no matter how good it looks. Still, if you've never played Moss before, there'll never be a better time than when it comes to the PSVR 2 on launch.
There's no turning back now. Or so the saying goes.
The sequel to Moss, or should that be the squeakquel, Moss Book 2, is also lacking a free PSVR to PSVR 2 upgrade. However, you can save a bit of cash on this excellent game by buying both Moss 1 and Moss 2 in a bundle. Just like the first game, Book 2 will also be releasing alongside the PSVR 2, and you should consider it to be a must buy if you've never played it before.
Who give them the strength to achieve the impossible.
Based on the old point-and-click NES adventure game Shadowgate, Shadowgate VR The Mines of Mythrok brings dungeon crawling to life with massive caverns and mystic chambers to explore, devious puzzles to solve, and deadly elemental magic to wield. I've never played this game before, but the Oculus Quest reviews for it are very positive indeed, so I can't wait to get my D&D VRing on when this comes out on PSVR 2. Soul of Kaeru here is still in development, and with a release date on Steam that just says TBA, all we have to go on is this trailer and the blurb text, which says things like Soul of Kaeru is a Metroidvania-inspired VR game, explore a vast and colourful yet dark semi-open world filled with creatures of all sorts, from the small critter to the giant fantastical beasts, and experiment with your VR interactions through first-person cameras during puzzle moments, and control your hero in third person. Huh, sounds like maybe I should start Kaeruing about this one then. Lol.
This building is 650 million square feet, or as large as the sunken city of Manhattan, which technically makes us larger.
The Last Worker here is one of two games on this list from publisher Wired Productions that was announced for PSVR 2 a while back, but that announcement seemed to go over everyone's heads. The PSVR 2 specs for The Last Worker here haven't been announced yet, but the Steam listing for the game describes it as a first-person narrative adventure centered around our struggling and increasingly automated world that combines a handcrafted art style with uniquely immersive gameplay mechanics in an epic setting. Boasting a unique blend of core gameplay mechanics from stealth, exploration, racing, combat, and something called Delivery of Dreams, this 2023 release seems to have a little bit of everything for everyone.
Are you a kami?
The Tale of Onogoro has been out on PC VR since September of last year, and according to the description of the game, it's, and I quote, an adventure with the cute anime girl. So that's probably sold a few copies already. It also describes the game as Portal meets Shadow of the Colossus, where you must solve sprawling puzzles and defeat giant beasts called kami that are blocking your path. So there's something there for people who aren't just interested in a VR hand shandy too. Oh, and it's tentatively due for release alongside the PSVR 2 as well. Onto the arcade category now with Dropship Commander from Strange Game Studios, which released this month on PS4 and PSVR, with the PS5 version coming soon and the PSVR 2 version sometime after the headset's launch. Inspired by early arcade classics, Dropship Commander sees you take control of a dropship and try to navigate through a variety of hostile environments before successfully landing on drop pads spread throughout each location. While the gameplay itself looks terribly basic, the PS4 version is supported by a budget price tag of £6.49, so hopefully it costs something similar when it comes to PSVR 2. Not much is known about this next game, which is tentatively titled Awesome Space Asteroids from Space Must Die, and all there is to go on so far is this 15-second demo footage, but it's from the same developer as Dropship Commander, and it's allegedly going to come to PSVR 2 when it's finished. Going by the gameplay here, I'd expect a similarly low price point to that of Dropship Commander. Coming out at the same time as the PSVR 2 launches on February 22nd, 2023, Altair Breaker can be played solo, in co-op or in versus multiplayer, and you can climb and glide your way around the floating island of Vastus Isle in this anime-inspired action game. This one has been out on PC VR since August, but unfortunately the reviews for it on Steam are mixed at the moment, so here's hoping the developer's third verse can iron out any issues players have with it before it comes to PSVR 2. Grimlord is a dark fantasy action RPG that's due out on PSVR 2 sometime before the end of this year, and it looks to combine realistic sword fighting with fantasy magic. Basically, it's blade and sorcery then, except for you're hitting skeletons rather than realistic looking people, so hopefully you won't feel like an absolute monster for playing it. Hellsplit Arena is an oldie but a goodie on Steam. It's been out since 2019 and the reviews for it are overwhelmingly positive, so if you're in the mood for a VR slasher set in a dark fantasy world with gruesome and realistic combat, this one will be for you. Alchemy meets hack-and-slash action in Mixture, according to its blog post on the Quest website, but that's not the only interesting thing about this game. Although you play it solo, you'll simultaneously control two unique characters, an alchemist and an exiled knight. Sola the Knight is a third-person character who wields a scythe, so I presume you'll control them with the thumbsticks of your motion controller, while Sephiros, the alchemist, can mix potions to throw at their enemies in first-person VR. Sounds interesting, and also maybe a bit like a violent moss? I guess we'll find out when this one releases. Samurai Slaughterhouse is a stylish-looking VR samurai stealth game that takes place in a vast physics-based sandbox, and according to its developers, it features volumetric blood effects which some may consider extreme. So that's me sold on it then. Swordsman VR is a story-driven, physics-based medieval combat game that's rated incredibly highly in most people's best PSVR game lists, and a PSVR to PSVR 2 update is due to arrive on the day that the PSVR 2 launches. There's dozens of weapons to wield, shields, armor and skills for you to customize, and even telekinesis and chronokinesis powers that'll let you manipulate in-game objects and even time itself. And there looks to be a massive game here to try out, with 7 different thematic environments against 4 different cultures, zombies, and 5 different bosses. Alright, onto the horror section now, and what better game to kick this part off with than a game that utilises the tired trope of a mental asylum to base its action in. Oh, wait, no, that's not a good thing. That's actually Bobbins, isn't it? Affected the Asylum is the sequel to Affected the Manor, which was a forgettable but relatively scary haunted house simulator that sold for a budget price. Let's hope then that the Asylum is similarly priced. Servios, the developers of such excellent VR games as Creed, Raw Data, and Sprint Vector, is back with an upcoming, intense, single-player action horror game set in the Alien universe. And apart from the fact that it is confirmed for PSVR 2, that's basically all we know about it at the moment, which is why I've just shown this picture and not a trailer, because there isn't one. Afterlife VR came out not too long ago on PC VR, and so far it's pulled in some really positive reviews on the store. So it's nice to see this deeply immersive VR horror game headed to the PSVR 2 at some point. But wait, this one is also set in a mental hospital, so chances are it'll just be a dull retread of old ground for anyone who has experienced VR horror before. Oh look, another creepy horror game set in a spooky building, although this one isn't set in a mental asylum at least, which is nice. Do Not Open is your standard escape room horror game, but this one promises that each game will contain different rooms and puzzle variations with solutions that change every time you play it. Fingers crossed the PSVR 2 version gets a lot of love from the developers before its release though, because the flat PS5 version launched in a terribly broken state, and because of this, it definitely wasn't worth opening.
Who we gonna call? You.
Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord is a single to 4-player cooperative ghost hunting game set in a spooky version of San Francisco. There's plenty of ghost busting action in this trailer here, but as it's all quest gameplay, the graphics on show look rather basic, and honestly, the gameplay does look a little bit rubbish too. So will the PSVR 2 version end up being any good? Only Slime will tell.
We're gonna need a bigger trap.
Ghostbusters, Rise of the Ghost Lord.
It's time to head back to Mr. Peterson's creepy house in Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue, but this time you'll be able to burglarise it in VR. Avoid the neighbour at all costs as you, taking on the role of 6 little neighbourhood children, have to confront your fears and rescue your imprisoned pal from their basement prison. I found the flat versions of these games to be rather frustrating and I struggled to get into them, so here's hoping the extra immersion from VR will convince me to say hello to it rather than goodbye. Madison. The flat version started off so well, but it soon descended into a crappy collage of predictable jump scares, obtuse puzzles, and incredibly annoying inventory management. The pancake gameplay might not be that fun then, but you can guarantee that its scares, at least, will be absolutely brutal in VR.
The attic.
From the looks of this trailer, a stay in Propagation's Paradise Hotel looks anything but paradise. From the creators of the free-to-play and very highly reviewed PC VR game Propagation VR, Paradise Hotel is a brand new spin-off of the series set to release in spring 2023, and it's sure to get your adrenaline pumping as you explore dark environments, experience terrifying encounters, use your tools and wits to progress, and gather resources to survive in this intense VR survival horror adventure. Considering the original free game is so highly thought of, Propagation's Paradise Hotel should be on the wish list of any self-respecting VR horror fan.
Guess you, me.
PSVR 2 functionality for the Resident Evil 4 remake was briefly teased when the game was first announced, and since then Capcom has gone scarily quiet about what PSVR 2 will actually bring to the game. Will the full experience be playable in VR, or will we just get a half-arsed VR minigame? Or worse, nothing at all now? I'll let you know when I know. Lady D in VR on PSVR 2 on launch day. That experience is going to sell hundreds of thousands of units alone. And I should know, I've seen eye to eye with Lady D in VR multiple times now. In a recent blog post, Sony confirmed that this free PSVR 2 update would release at the same time as the PSVR 2, so expect to hear screams of terror and probably screams of ecstatic joy too the world over from February 22nd. Well, this was unexpected. A Stranger Things VR game developed by Tender Claws and published by Netflix? Where are we? In the Upside Down or something? So far, we've only had a brief teaser trailer for the game, but allegedly you play as Vecna, the big bad from Season 4, and rather disappointingly, not the stoner guy who makes pizzas for a living. According to the trailer blurb, in the game you'll become an explorer of unknown realities as you form the hive mind and tame the void, whatever that means. Oh, and you'll also invade mines and conjure nightmares in your quest to enact revenge on Eleven and Hawkins. So maybe it's like a Freddy Krueger simulator or something? I don't know. Whatever it is though, I'm interested. Until Dawn Rush of Blood was easily one of the best launch titles for the original PSVR, so I was absolutely thrilled to see Sony drop this trailer for the Dark Pictures Switchback VR this week. Once again, it's a horror game crossed with a light gun shooter that's set on a roller coaster of doom, and if it's anywhere near as good as Rush of Blood, it's going to be a mainstay in your PSVR 2 headset for a long time.
Believe someone is coming to help you.
I had an awesome time with the Exorcist Legion on the original PSVR, so I can't wait until my PSVR 2 library possesses its sequel, the Exorcist Legion VR Sin. The Sin in the title isn't just a nod to the game's Catholicism-themed horror though. Sin also stands for safety in numbers, because this one can also be played in 2-player co-op.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
Reviews of the Twilight Zone VR on the Quest store seem to be a bit of a mixed bag. Sure, this 3-story mixed reality VR game feels authentically Twilight Zoney and scary, but many users criticised its short length, frustrating stealth gameplay, and aging VR mechanics. Maybe this one is for fans of the show only then.
Come join us in the Twilight Zone.
This is my commitment to you, New Orleans. I will not stand by idly and allow injustice to continue to flourish within this city.
It's getting ruthless on the other side of the tower wall. More people exiled every week.
Thanks to a recent listing on the PlayStation Store, we now know that The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 is coming to PSVR 2 as part of a bundle called the Deluxe Edition, which includes both chapters of the game. I can't find any confirmation that the original version will be given a free upgrade for those who already own it though, but I'm assuming that there will be. Either way, if you've already played Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 on the original PSVR, you are going to be blown away by how much the PSVR 2's visuals, haptics and sense controllers massively improve the game.
Heaven is turned against us, and hell is rising up.
What have you done to ensure the future of this forsaken city?
The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution brings you more zombie stabbing action as you continue the thrillingly immersive story of the tourist, only this time in some brand new locations with some brand new weapons, and a much better and way more accurate control scheme for stabbing those zombies in the face. Oh, can't wait.
When the bells ring, the song they sing will be righteous. Welcome home.
Wandering in Space came out this year on PC VR, but I've never played nor heard of it before, which is strange seeing as it's a sci-fi zombie shooter that has some very positive user reviews. According to Steam, it's a single-player roguelike horror FPS, so fingers crossed that means it's a bit like The Persistence, which was a single-player roguelike horror FPS game for the PSVR that I absolutely loved. Across the Valley is an upcoming farm management game that looks like a VR version of Stardew Valley, where you can shear sheep, go on truffle hunts with pigs, and milk cows, all in a VR world that's presented in a lovely hand-drawn style. It's not all about grabbing teats with VR hands though. You can also sow and harvest your own plants and raise baby animals, so if you like cute things, this one could be for you. In In Bloody Hell Hotel, you play as a vampire who wakes up from a coma only to find their once grand estate is now in ruins. So it's up to you to turn it into a prosperous hotel by foraging, farming, crafting, and fighting your way through monster-infested dungeons to find resources that you can use to restore your mansion and turn it into a thriving business. Cities VR Enhanced Edition is one of the growing number of confirmed PSVR 2 launch titles, so if you're a fan of building and managing cities, you won't have to wait very long to build the city of your dreams. This adaptation of the leading city builder game, City Skylines, lets you be the mayor and design neighbourhoods, construct buildings, direct the flow of traffic, all while you handle economics, emergency services and more. Oh my god, that sounds like a lot of work though. Everyone in my city is definitely screwed. Zenith The Last City is the only confirmed MMO for the PSVR 2 so far, and despite being pretty sparse on content at launch, Zenith The Last City was surprisingly popular on PSVR, and this newly announced PSVR 2 edition promises to be a much bigger game than before, bringing with it hundreds of hours of new content and big graphical updates that will make it way more MMO-ish than it was before.
I was exploring the depths of every museum. And then stepping onwards into the beyond.
It's puzzle games time now, and I'm already starting with a bit of a head scratcher because the footage we're showing of Engram here technically doesn't exist. This is actually a tech demo for a game called The Vanishing Act that Maze Theory announced a couple of years ago, but it is now called Engram. How much of the gameplay has changed since this video was released is yet to be seen, but the premise sounds interesting as it's supposedly a game that will allow players to experience memories and explore the human mind in a new way. Ooh, new, mysterious.
And that's when I realized
could have mentored you, passed on the knowledge that was passed to me. But now I'm dead.
It feels like Firmament, a narrative puzzle adventure from the people that brought us Myst, has been in development for ages, and that's because it has, really. It originally got kickstarted back in 2019, and it's now due for release in 2023, and it's designed specifically with VR in mind. Expect beautiful art design, a mysterious storyline, and the type of inventive and original puzzles that you've come to know and expect from the developers Cyan.
You are a thread of hope for opening the gateway and preparing for the arrival. Vite dilation me fere recurit firmamento.
I will destroy this whole mansion if I have to. Brick. Why? Brick.
Do you realize what is in front of you? Hundreds of years of suffering.
Project Louisiana The Bounds VR is supposedly a horror point-and-click puzzle game that's inspired by games like Resident Evil or Silent Hill. There's not much info out about it, apart from this early teaser trailer though, and to be honest with you, it all looks a bit low-budget jank to me, so I wouldn't get too excited about this one just yet.
Well.
Not all here fear the monster. Many have befriended the creature.
In Tentacular, you play as a gigantic but good-hearted tentacled beast that is trying to figure out its place in the world, and to do that, it needs to solve physics-based puzzles for the bossy inhabitants of the islands it lives by. I've played this game for a previous episode of VR Corner, and while it's a lot of fun, it didn't really make too much of a splash when it released.
We all seek a greater understanding of our world and of where we come from.
The VR Guy Deluxe, which wisely changed its name a little while back, is a hilarious single-player first-person puzzle game, where players have to find their way out of the dreams of the titular The Guy using objects and tools that they'll obtain during The Guy's immersive snoozes. The PSVR 2 version of the Guy VR Deluxe was announced by the game's developer in a Reddit post a month or so ago, and while we don't know what extras the upgrade may bring in terms of haptics and visuals, etc., thanks to a question from a curious commenter, we do know that the developer is hoping to release this as a free upgrade for owners of the original game, which is basically as close to a confirmation of a free upgrade as we can get for this one at the moment. Welcome to Tin Hearts, the second game on this list from Wired Productions that also went under everyone's radar when it was announced for PSVR 2. Coming from the minds of some of the developers of Fable, Tin Hearts is a deeply emotional story spanning generations and dimensions that's masterfully woven into the fabric of a puzzle-filled world. Guide a troop of tin soldiers through a magical toy-filled world in this immersive puzzle adventure game that allows you to manipulate time and use a variety of whimsical and inventive contraptions to bounce, shoot and glide the soldiers towards their goal. Sounds a bit like Lemmings then. There's no release date for this one, but expect a more in-depth announcement about PSVR 2 functionality from Wired Productions soon. As an Oculus exclusive game since 2019, gamers had almost given up on the idea of Beat Saber ever coming to the PSVR 2, but during a CES 2023 keynote, we finally got the incredibly good news that Beat Saber was indeed coming to PSVR 2. While there's no information about the release date yet, or whether or not it will be a free upgrade for owners of the PSVR original, we do at least now have confirmation that, at some point in the future, PSVR 2 owners will be able to experience Beat Saber's amazing Jedi Conducting an Orchestra Action 2. If you've ever dreamed of drumming but have been put off by the size or the noise of a real-life drum kit, Drum Rocks here could be the answer to your prayers. Pound the skins, not like that, to a variety of rock genres across a unique campaign that features different levels, challenges, songs and worlds. Fantavision returns just in time for the PSVR 2's launch with Fantavision 22X, or Fantavision 2020X? I don't know. Anyway, it's a fireworks-themed combination of action, shooting, strategy, and puzzles. The PSVR 2 headset and the PSVR 2 Sense controllers are set to provide an immersive experience for you, as they will let you experience the vibrations of the fireworks through haptic feedback, so you can fully absorb the breathtaking displays as you ooh and ah your way through each level. This next game is based on a famous virtual YouTuber called Kizuna AI, so chances are it won't just be the beat that its players are touching. Kizuna AI Touch the Beat launches alongside the PSVR 2, but to be honest with you, it looks quite pants, and I probably won't be touching it with a barge pole. I literally jumped for joy when I saw that Pistol Whip was coming to PSVR 2. I bloody love that game, it's amazing, and if you've not had the chance to play it yet, make sure you get it when it comes to the PSVR 2. There's so much content in there now, and the feeling of being John Wick at a rave really never gets old. Synth Riders is an incredibly popular freestyle dancing VR rhythm game that has helped a huge amount of players groove to the beat on the original PSVR. With a PSVR to PSVR 2 upgrade promised by the developers at some point in the future, it doesn't look like Synth Riders will be hanging up its dancing shoes anytime soon. It's shooter time, my friends, and there's a lot of them, so maybe skip this part if shooters don't do anything for you. Anyway, After the Fall is basically Left 4 Dead in the snow with zombies, and it's a hell of a lot of fun, especially if you're able to gather a group of friends together to play as a 4-person team. There have been plenty of updates to After the Fall since I covered it on VR Corner, and it's super popular on all the other platforms, so definitely keep an eye on this one. Alvo's fast-paced, COD-like PvP modes are incredibly fun to run and gun your way around, and it's really easy to pick up and get into, so if the PSVR 2 release ends up being a better-looking port of the Quest 2 version that added new maps, a co-op zombie mode, and cross-play lobbies to the original base game, we'll all be in for a treat when this one eventually comes out. One thing we don't know yet though is whether or not the PSVR 2 version will come as a free upgrade to owners of the original game. Here's hoping.
Patrolling for enemy, sir.
Here's a unique idea for a VR shooter. Black Trail is a single-player FPS set during the time of the Old West, and you swap between two protagonists, a bounty hunter and a native warrior, as their stories intertwine. It's not out yet, so there's no sign on whether or not it's actually decent, but I do like the idea of firing historical weapons in VR for once. Crossfire Sierra Squad is yet another newly announced PSVR 2 game, and it's one that looks right up my street. A modern milsim with gorgeous graphics, heightened realism, and the option to play in 4-player co-op. There's no sign of a release date though, and all we have to go on really is this trailer, so there's a chance it could end up being pap. But I'm excited for this one nevertheless. In my previous Most Wanted confirmed PSVR 2 games list, I put the spotlight on Lo-Fi because I love its cyberpunk aesthetic, but Distortion VR here looks like it might be a worthy contender. Or at least it did until I checked the Steam reviews, which included a lot of thumbs downs and criticisms like repetitive, clunky, and just not fun. I'm sure things can change for it over time, but I think at this point I'll be holding out for Lo-Fi.
You want to be a contractor? According to your reputation, you have the right skills for the job.
Firewall Ultra is the next evolution in the Firewall franchise that promises to take advantage of all the new features that the PSVR 2 has to offer, like eye tracking, which will enable you to intuitively swap weapons and bring up HUD indicators using just the power of your eyes. Best of all though, Firewall Ultra will also run on dedicated servers this time around, so the terrible game-ruining lobby system of the original game should now be a thing of the past.
Are you ready?
One thing that the original PSVR missed out on was the realistic milsim style game that popped up on quite a lot of other headsets. Hello to the excellent Onward especially. In Ghosts of Tabor or whatever, you can go on solo missions or with squads of up to 4, plan your attack, assemble weapons, reload guns realistically, and then get shot in the face as soon as you blunder out into the open like a noob who's never had any military training in their life. Or at least that's how I'll be playing it anyway.
You're on your own.
Hubris came out on the PC to a mixed reception, as even though it looks beautiful, it was rather buggy and the gameplay was largely repetitive and basic. There's potential for a great game here though, if the devs can add some extra polish to the PSVR 2 version before launch, because you can move, climb, swim and jump freely around Hubris's sci-fi world, all while fighting humans, aliens and mechanized enemies with weapons that you've crafted yourself.
Are you with me?
Hyperstacks isn't just a shooter, it's also an action, puzzle, platformer, sandbox VR game too, so it's covering a lot of genre-specific bases there. The graphics look simplistic but nice and colourful, so they should translate into a really good-looking VR experience. But we'll have to wait and see about the gameplay, as it's not out on any platform until Q1 2023 at the earliest.
Hyperstacks, coming soon.
Pavlov VR is easily one of the biggest PC VR games out there, and it's basically set up a permanent home in the top sellers section of the Steam VR store. Sadly, the PSVR 2 won't be getting the full version of Pavlov VR, but it will be getting the spin-off Quest version Pavlov Shack, which is far and away one of the best competitive multiplayer VR shooters available on that headset. While details of the PSVR 2 version are still few and far between, it's probably worth expecting exactly the same game as the Quest version, but with improved visuals, audio, and some added headset haptics.
The story I was telling, it was about a certain droid repair tech who had no business getting into this kind of trouble.
Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition here should be the perfect title to ease newcomers into the virtual world. Originally a Quest exclusive, the game has been rebuilt to take full advantage of the extra power afforded by the PSVR 2, so expect way better visuals than you might have seen on Meta's standalone headset, along with all the other usual eye tracking and headset haptic features that you might expect. This might not be the deepest of VR games, but shooting Star Wars blasters in VR is definitely one of those childhood dreams come true experiences that makes virtual reality feel so magical.
Half a league. Half a league.
Now, the Light Brigade here looks very interesting indeed. It's a single-player roguelike shooter with a spooky, dreamlike visual style that manages to simultaneously look awesome and maybe a bit crap too. I'm not sure, but there's realistic gun physics in there, a load of period-authentic-looking weapons, and it's one of the only newly announced PSVR 2 games to be cross-buy on both PSVR 1 and PSVR 2, so I'm sure it'll be worth a light look at least.
Into the Valley of Death.
Volcanic Core definitely doesn't have the flashiest graphics going, but it does remind me of Tron mixed with the PSVR 1 launch title Battlezone, which I really enjoyed, so maybe it'll be good. We won't know for definite until it gets released in 2023 though, so watch this space. Wolf and Pigs Out for Vengeance is a fresh take on the classic fable The Three Little Pigs. Well, okay, it's not that fresh because it's been out on PC VR since 2020, but it's also on its way to PSVR 2 at some point in 2023. There's guns to shoot and grapple hook swinging action to be had, so hopefully this one will blow your house down with its gameplay rather than just simply blowing. In X8, you play as heroes from different FPS franchises that find themselves crossing paths in the game engine that all their games run on. Each hero can access 3 abilities, Instant, Basic and Ultimate, and each character has hero-specific items offering situational advantages. Additionally, heroes can access an extensive arsenal of weapons, armor and items unique to their character. With up to 5v5 players in multiplayer and up to 16 rounds, there could be a lot to like about this competitive shooter.
Shred everything for legal reasons.
Have you ever wanted to do a jobby in VR? No, not like that. Like this, with Job Simulator VR, the hilarious workspace simulation game where real-life tedious tasks are replaced by wacky shenanigans. While there's no set release date for this yet, developer Alchemy Labs has said that it's working on a PSVR 2 port right now for release in early 2023. Job done.
I'm gonna have to ask you to come in on
Saturday.
Made by the same developer as Wolf and Pigs and also due out sometime in 2023, Lucky Fish Bread puts you in the shoes of a star roadside stall owner who uses their specialty carp cakes to attract customers. Lucky you! Hopefully though, it's not as carp as it looks in this trailer.
Hello?
Hey. Are you ready to embark on a cosmic cocktail escapade in Star Tenders on PSVR 2? Because if you are, this game will be getting a free PSVR 1 to PSVR 2 upgrade sometime after the headset's launch. But why would you want to play a VR game about making cocktails when you could simply make them in real life and then get drunk as well? That's my question.
We're seeing screen to screen on this one. Relax, that's what vacations are all about.
Alchemy Lab's follow-up to Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator, is also due for a PSVR 2 port at some point in early 2023. It's a similar style of game overall, but for some reason this one just didn't resonate with me as well as Job Sim did.
Does the Force really exist?
Hashtag no filter, hashtag adventure.
And that is how you vacation.
Everyone's favourite social deduction game Among Us has been a smash hit on PC VR and Quest since it launched in 2022, and it won't be long until you'll be able to cruelly and unfairly accuse your friends of murder and then push them out of an airlock on PSVR 2. If you've ever played the original version and felt how tense that can be, just wait until you're able to look your friends in the eyes while you extinguish their lives. And you won't have to wait for long, as Among Us launches alongside the PSVR 2.
All bark like a K9. Pedal to the metal, no brake line. Take time, pride, you can't take mine.
2MD VR Football Unleashed All-Star is an upgraded version of the original PSVR game 2MD VR Football head-to-head action. According to the developer, there'll be no free PSVR 1 to PSVR 2 update for this one, as it's basically a ground-up remake of the first game with extras, but they are trying to negotiate a discount for owners of the first game with Sony. This one is already out on the Quest though, so expect to be playing American Hand Egg on your PSVR 2 close to launch in 90Hz and 4K HDR.
We're back in business, baby! Time to ball out, let's go!
It's on to the sports genre next, aka my least favourite genre, so let's kick this off with Blacktop Hoops. A demo for Blacktop Hoops is available on the Quest's App Lab, and the reviews for this multiplayer VR basketball game are incredibly positive. So if you fancy dribbling inside your PSVR 2 headset, Blacktop Hoops with its realistic basketball mechanics should scratch the itch on your bouncing balls.
That is a pizza slice with extra vegan cheese!
I've tried a fair share of kart racing games in my day, and that's in both VR and flat, but none of those ever grabbed me as much as the classics like Mario Kart. Maybe Galaxy Kart VR here will be better though, as there seems to be a lot of variety to both the tracks and the characters. There are no reviews of it out there though, as the release date just says coming soon, but as the only kart racer announced for the PSVR 2 at the moment, you don't have a lot of choice anyway. Golf Plus is a very successful Quest golfing game that calls itself the ultimate VR golf experience. There's multiplayer, single player, practice areas, and a bunch of courses to smack your little balls around, so plenty for golf fans to get on with. I, on the other hand, find golf games a bit dull, so I won't be putting this one at the top of my wish list. Get it? Putting? 'Cause it's golf? Nice. We almost thought it wasn't going to happen, but a PSVR 2 upgrade for Gran Turismo 7 has finally been announced, and it will be available to players for free from the headset's launch. Details other than that are slim at the moment, and we still don't know for sure whether or not the VR capabilities will stretch to the full game or just be partial support like GT Sport's PSVR mode was, but the fact that this has now been confirmed probably means that a bunch of you are revving up your PSVR 2 pre-orders as we speak. Kayak VR Mirage is quite simply one of the best looking VR games available, and while the game itself is quite sedate, the emotions and the sensations that the realism delivers to players will make this an unforgettable experience. There's a lot of shooting going on in Runner, so I'm not really sure that this can be classed as a sports game as such, but there's more racing in it than shooting, so here it is in the sports section. I love the look of Runner and the immense Akira meets 80s sci-fi aesthetic vibes that the gameplay trailers give off, so I've got my hopes up that this one will live up to the hype I've built up for it in my head. Stride is a high-octane parkour adventure set in a futuristic metropolis where you need to throw yourself, stylishly, from rooftop to rooftop in order to avoid being shot in the face. If you liked Mirror's Edge and thought to yourself, that would be cool to play in VR, then this one should be for you. Oh, and there's multiplayer in it too, which is nice.
Super jam. Here we go now.
But wait, perhaps you prefer Super Kit to the Top, another VR parkour game, but this time it's the sequel to the excellent To the Top, which was previously available on PSVR 1. Visually, this sequel looks like a massive improvement on the first game, and the levels on show here seem to be jammed full of dangerous obstacles to avoid and cool structures to climb. Another sequel next, and this time it's to the excellent Ultra Wings, so I'm really looking forward to this one. The mostly positive reviews on Steam show that this follow-up isn't just a flight of fancy for the developers either, and so if the thought of an arcade-style flight sim in the vein of Pilot Wings floats your boat, or should that be flies your plane, Ultra Wings 2 should be on your PSVR 2 wishlist.
Ultra Wings pilot.
I've never played VR Skater before, but it's been out on Steam Early Access since April 2021, and it has very positive reviews. So if you fancy a bit of virtual Tony Hawking, you shouldn't get skate bored of this one in a hurry. Sink into an all-new world of danger, survival and mystery in Behemoth, an upcoming VR game that seems to be heavily inspired by Shadow of the Colossus. There's no proper gameplay out for this game yet, just this cinematic trailer, but it is being developed by creators of The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, so expect this to be full of top-quality VR shenanigans. I really bounced off Green Hell VR when I covered it for VR Corner. I found it super frustrating and rather dull. But if you're into super hardcore survival games and you have a lot of patience, you won't find one as rich in detail or as brutal as this.
To work hard in order to succeed in life.
Would you like to hunt, survive, build and lead in the harsh world of the Middle Ages? Well, not if it's in real life I wouldn't, that sounds rubbish, but in VR it sounds pretty awesome. Medieval Dynasty is already out in flat on Steam and it's proving to be very popular, but a standalone VR version is in the works and it's supposed to be a genre mix of Green Hell and A Township Tale, which sounds cool, I guess.
Now I am ready to build and grow a village.
Neolithic Dawn is a primitive survival game built from the ground up for virtual reality that features advanced physics-based interactions, dynamic seasons and weather, an open-ended crafting system, and a unique living world where time only moves forward. Which is how time normally works, so I'm not sure why that's boast-worthy, but hey-ho. There's no news on a release date for this one yet, but if you enjoy games like Green Hell VR, this one might be worth a look-see. The PSVR 2 version of No Man's Sky was pretty much inevitable, seeing as it's out on PSVR already, and I for one cannot wait to see the infinite worlds of that game brought to life through the 4K PSVR 2 headset. It's going to look gorgeous, and with the new Sense controllers, hopefully moving around and navigating all of those menus will be a lot easier than it was with the wonky Move controllers.
Welcome to Nevermont, the most calm and peaceful city. Well, at least it was one day. Now it's a total mess here.
Requisition VR is a single to 4-player co-op zombie survival sim that is currently in early access on Steam. The game has received mostly positive reviews since its release in October, with a lot of praise being put on its unique crafting mechanics. Complaints about jank and thin content seem to be a bit harsh considering it's still in early access at the moment, so here's hoping the full release on PSVR 2 will be polished and full of Zeds to Deads.
Welcome to Nevermont, the most dangerous and zombiest city.
Song in the Smoke was an incredible, if slightly overlooked, survival game for the PSVR that's being rekindled for PSVR 2 with a free upgrade on the headset's launch, as long as you're an existing owner of the PSVR version, that is. According to the developers, 17-bit, it's more than just a remaster though, as tons of extra polish and additional features have been added.
Bring the murderer to justice.
Sci-fi murder mystery visual novel game Disynchronous Chronos Alternate is yet another launch title confirmed for the PSVR 2, and in it you'll play as an anime detective with fantastical powers. Using an ability called Memory Dive, you can access the past by touching objects with your left hand to relive the owner's memories. So, hopefully we won't be finding any porno mags then. Ugh.
Dyschronia, Chronos Alternate.
And there we have it, an absolutely huge amount of confirmed games that you'll soon be able to insert yourself into on the PSVR 2. Still no Half-Life Alyx though. Sadness. Thanks once again to our friends over at PSVR Without Parole, who helped confirm a large number of games on this list. I've included a link to their YouTube channel in the description below, so head on over there and do check out their awesome PSVR and PSVR 2 coverage. With just over a month to go until the launch of Sony's new headset, you can guarantee that I'll be keeping you up to date with all the PSVR 2 news too, and hopefully I'll get some more hands-on previews done in the run-up to launch, like this one here that's on screen and clickable right now, where I play on an actual PSVR 2 and come away very impressed indeed. So, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon in virtual reality.